It's time for Real Talk with Brian and Dan, the weekly talk radio show dedicated to discussing important real estate topics, plus insight into the local community. With a combined experience of over 50 years as local real estate brokers from the East Side Real Estate Team at Keller Williams Realty Bellevue. Here's your hosts, Brian Levitt and Dan Edwards.
Good afternoon and welcome to Real Talk with Brian and Dan on 1150 KKNW. There's a glow out there, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that's right. When you walk into a coffee shop now, you're seeing moms that seem incredibly happy, dads that are incredibly satisfied because it's back to school.
Or is it pumpkin lattes?
It could be pumpkin lattes, one of the two. But I just ran into so many moms at the Starbucks this morning. They're like, "Oh, it's great. The kids are off to school." So they're definitely time of year. And I'm sorry to say, folks, summer's over.
Summer's over. Oh,
it's
well.
over.
It's
if
good while
you
it
didn't get
lasted.
out, actually, my favorite time of year in the Northwest is the fall. Because you get these beautiful afternoons that are like sunny and everything, and cool, crisp evenings. The stars are out. Football, Huskies.
Ripe tomatoes.
Ripe tomatoes.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's time
I've got
in the
a couple. I think we talked about that earlier.
We
I got
did.
a couple. Well, hey, listen, thank you for listening to Real Talk with Brian and Dan. It is September 4th, 2019. We appreciate you listening to us. If you would like to listen to any past episodes, you can find our podcast anywhere podcasts are podcasted. We have another fantastic show. We are very excited to welcome Jenny Butts with B&I Northwest and Barry Nia, an independent appraiser, home appraiser. That should be a really fun conversation. But before we get to our guests, it's always time for some real talk.
Last week, we answered some of your questions about down payments. Today, we're going to give you some insights into why you should hire a real estate professional when selling your house. Rising home prices, coupled with a lack of inventory in today's market, may cause some homeowners to consider selling their home on their own. This is known in the industry as a for sale by owner, or as we at the Eastside Real Estate call them, unrepresented sellers.
Unrepresented sellers, yep.
FSBO, so for sale by owner, acronym FSBO, FSBO. A FSBO might not be a good idea for the vast majority of sellers, and today we want to discuss some of the reasons why that is.
Yeah, the first reason we recommend using a real estate professional is because of the online strategy. Now, we have been implementing one that's comprehensive. It covers hundreds of websites. It also includes social media and broadcast media through our radio show. Studies have shown that 95% of buyers, and if it isn't 99, I'd be very surprised.
Oh, it's 99.
Very close.
It's 99.
Start searching online. In comparison to 13% read the newspaper.
I haven't seen a real estate ad in the paper.
All right.
in
I mean,
ages.
actually, I have seen ads in newspapers, and it surprises me.
Really?
What? I don't
Why
know
would
why
they
we
do
do
that?
that.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you're reaching a different audience.
Fractional.
Very fraction of the audience. Not to. I don't want to speak bad about newspapers, but the most effective place to market is online when it comes to real estate.
Right. So additionally, most buyers actually end up finding homes from the internet. A recent survey asked buyers where they found a home, and that they actually purchased. 50% said on the internet.
50%. Okay.
28% from a real estate broker, 7% from a yard sign, and 1% from newspapers.
There's that newspaper.
There's the
again.
newspapers.
Yep.
The days of selling your house by putting a sign in the yard and an ad in the paper are long gone. Having a strong internet strategy is definitely crucial.
Yeah, and I think internet strategies now, when it comes to anything, like have you ever been on a certain local website, rhymes with Amazon, and you search for something on there, and then you happen to go to like 3 other websites, and that product is following you around?
Right.
Well, that's a strategy that we can
use
implement,
that.
and
Right.
implementing. So the whole idea is for us is to target the demographic. We've got a couple of homes coming on the market in the next couple of weeks, and we're actively thinking who would be searching for us. And there's a great ability for us to actually utilize the demographics interests on Facebook to target listing directly to a potential buyer.
Our objective is to find that one buyer who's willing to pay more for your home than anyone else.
That's
we
it.
very much target that buyer.
So another reason we recommend not being an unrepresented seller is that there are too many people to negotiate with. Here's a list of some of the people that you're going to need to be prepared to negotiate with if you decide to go that route. First, the buyer. They want the best deal possible. Second, the buyer's agent, who solely represents the interests of the buyer. Third, a buyer's attorney. So in some areas across the country, you have to have an attorney approve all contracts. The home inspection companies, which also work for the buyer. And then finally, the appraiser. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, they don't negotiate. Gary will talk about that.
So, there's a lot of different things. Like, if you consider who you're negotiating with,
Right.
somebody on the other side of the negotiating table knows that your reason for selling without an agent is to save money.
Right.
And their goal is to take advantage of that.
Again, there's a crucial element here, too, where the only reason a buyer shops an unrepresented seller is to save the money. There's an assumption that since there's no broker involved, they get it for less. But wait a minute, the seller's doing all the work to save the money, and the buyer's expectation is to save the money. It doesn't work. It just doesn't add up.
Right.
For sale by owner has become increasingly difficult as time has progressed. The paperwork involved in selling and buying a home has increased dramatically as industry disclosures and regulations have become mandatory. Not only will you have many negotiations to go through, you also have a lot of paperwork on your hands, making the process much more complicated than it would be with a broker.
Can't I just do a quick claim to sell my house?
Oh, don't even go there. I'm representing a buyer right now who's buying a for sale by owner.
Yep.
And so essentially all of the work falls on me. I'm fine with that. My buyer will be,
Do what's
they are
right
very
for your
happy.
client.
I'm doing everything right for my client.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the seller actually reach out to me about, let's just do a quick claim and have them bring the money in. And it's like, well, let me get this straight. There's a lender, and the contract spells out the form of
well, and I think the
property.
important part is I actually came across a transaction where the previous transaction was a for sale by owner, and they actually transferred ownership via quitclaim. They didn't have all the rights to sell the property now.
Yeah, if you understand what a quitclaim is, it's all it does is convey any right that you may have. Dan, I could quitclaim this building to you.
Yeah.
But too bad for you, I don't own it.
I don't have any interest.
So, yeah. And so one last point here, FSBOing has dropped from 19% to 7% over the last 20 years. People are figuring out that it's gotten so complex that a broker really is pretty much mandatory.
So there was a study by Collateral Analytics that revealed unrepresented sellers don't actually save anything. And in some cases, they may actually cost themselves. Full disclosure, Brian.
Yeah.
Before I was in real estate, I actually sold my home for sale by owner in Linwood.
Yeah.
I thought it was smart. I actually offered 4% commission to the person that was competing against me, and I sold it for the price that I wanted. It got me into the house that I needed, right? So the result was good. But what I know then, I left money on the table.
Well, and I've read that there's so much more litigation against, sellers who represent themselves.
Yes.
And what attorneys say about an attorney who represents himself? They have a fool for a client.
For a client,
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, but you know what? If you've been doing it as long as Brian has, which is like ages when the dinosaurs, you have seen it. You've been there. You've done it, right? So being able to save our clients, that's the whole key. Well, that concludes our segment for Real Talk. We could talk for days about this. Coming up next, though, is our Mortgage Moment segment. Stay tuned after this commercial break to hear what the heck is going on in the mortgage industry with Michael Burdick. Join us right after this break.
Not sure if now is the right time to sell? Worried you missed the market? The Eastside Real Estate Team specializes in helping homeowners maximize their equity when selling. With our proven premier listing service, our clients have sold their homes for more money in less time than the competition. We know you have many choices when working with a real estate agent, but with the Eastside Real Estate Team, you get a team of highly qualified, experienced agents. From staging to deciding if your property is market ready for top dollar. If you're considering selling, call the Eastside Real Estate Team at 425-200-4093. Or check out our website at the eastsiderealestateteam.com, a subsidiary of Keller Williams Realty in Bellevue.
Tired of the same old conversations at networking events that never lead to new clients? BNI is changing the way the world does business by connecting you to strategic relationships that can help you grow your business. BNI is the world's largest networking organization, helping hundreds of thousands of members around the world each year increase revenue through relationship marketing. For information about visiting a BNI chapter near you, go to the BNI Northwest website at bninw.com.
Alternative Talk, 1150 on AM, 98.9 HD3 on HD, 1150 kknw.com on the web.
Welcome back to the show. You are listening to Real Talk with Brian and Dan.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Dan. It's now time for the Mortgage Moment segment. Now, during this segment, we like to get a quick update on the lending side of the home buying process. And today we are joined by Michael Burdick, a loan consultant with Loan Depot who's been serving borrowers at a super high level over the last 10 years and was also splitting wood this weekend. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
I mean, he can do your loan. He can, split wood if you need it. Good
There
guy.
you go.
Yeah, I don't know if you can put that out there that I'll do it for everyone. But
Oh, okay.
I'll do that.
Just me, right? He's not committing to it.
There you
On the
go.
commercial break, he was committing to it. Now he's backing out.
Oh,
That's
well.
unbelievable.
You're on the air.
All right, so let's get into some really complicated stuff. PMI. What is not TMI as in T,
Too
but
much
P?
information.
PMI. What is PMI?
Well, private mortgage insurance, and, it's not one of the sexiest topics with mortgage, but it is something that comes up on every consultation that I have with a client. And ultimately, when we sit down together, their goal is, let's get the best payment. I'm only paying X amount for rent. I don't want my mortgage to be $2,000 higher. And really what we do is we sit down and figure out, okay, what's the lowest payment that we can have with your terms, your down payment, and sometimes it's not the lowest rate. It's the overall payment together. And mortgage insurance is something that, the mortgage industry puts on loans where you put less than 20% down. So most people know what it is, and they don't know exactly all the information about it. So I educate my clients on, this is what your PMI would be on this loan, and this is what it'll be on this loan, and these are your options to get it lowered, minimize it, pay it off earlier. So there's lots of different ways to go about it, and when you sit down with a mortgage professional, they're going to be able to show you all the different options and come up with a plan that makes the most sense for
Right.
that client and their particular situation.
The thing I find is that most buyers don't understand, what the insurance is for. They think it's really for their benefit. It is in that they get the loan, but really it's insurance that indemnifies the lender against loss of
Default,
default. Yeah. So then the next
Exactly.
question I get is, how much is it and how long do they need to pay it?
Well, and that's a kind of a loaded question in itself. And you're right. It is an insurance for the lenders because just statistically, people that put less down have defaulted on their loans, so they will hit you with this extra payment. But how much that is, it depends on the loan program. It's initially how much they put down, whether they're putting down 3% or 15%. That PMI is going to be different, and then their credit score is going to help us decide which loan to put them in versus FHA, conventional, and then we do have options on even jumbo to put less than 20% down, but they don't have mortgage insurance. They just built it into the rate, so they're taking a higher
right.
interest rate on that.
Okay, so for our listeners, essentially what we're talking about is when you borrow money, you have principal and interest, right? Principal is the equity part of the loan.
Right.
Interest is obviously the cost for borrowing the money. And then the next stack on top of that is PMI, or personal mortgage insurance.
Private.
Private,
Sorry.
not personal. Private.
Personal.
Thank
Private
you.
mortgage
Perfect. Private. And then also stacked on top of that is your property insurance,
Homeowners.
right, for homeowners insurance, and then also property taxes.
Taxes, right.
So there are all the different layers when you're borrowing a loan. There's a kind of a stacking effect.
PITI, PMI.
What?
Principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and private mortgage insurance.
Wow.
PITI,
PMI.
yep.
Yep.
Got it. So and I think it is, Michael, it's important, right, to kind of understand how that impacts your ability to get the loan, because that personal mortgage insurance payment may put you out of ratio for your debt to income ratio, right?
Absolutely. People do their homework. They go on Google, and there's so many websites out there.
Right.
That give you a payment. Necessarily really meeting with a loan consultant or, and figuring out exactly what the total payment is going to be. That'll give you an idea more of your property search.
Yeah. So, Michael, if our listeners want more information about this, I'm sure they can reach out to you. How do they get a hold of you?
Go to Google, look at Michael Burdick, Loan Depot out of Bellevue. Best number for me is 206-661-2289.
Michael, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
So after a break, we'll be talking to our guest for the week. First up will be Jenny Butts with BNINW, who will be discussing building your business by building relationships. We'll be right back.
Did you know when you pay rent, you're actually paying someone else's mortgage? Are you tired of missing out on owning your own home? Fact: homeowners on average have 40 times the financial net worth of renters. The Eastside Real Estate Team has been helping many first-time homebuyers find and buy their first home. They specialize in customer service and put you first. They listen first to what you're looking for, and then they take the time to make sure their clients understand every aspect of the home buying process. If owning a home has been your dream, the Eastside Real Estate Team can help you. For a free, no-hassle consultation, call 425-200-4093 or find them online at the eastsiderealestateteam.com, a subsidiary of Keller Williams Realty in Bellevue.
Are you ready to select a residential contractor for your remodel project or custom construction? Have you been presented with a contract to review and sign? Well, before you go any further and before you sign anything, contact Douglas Schwed at Access Law NW for an expert contract review and a contractor due diligence investigation. We highly recommend that before you sign any major home improvement, remodel, or custom construction contract, that you consult with a qualified real estate contract attorney. Mr. Schwed has developed a proprietary 10-step builder due diligence investigation algorithm, which fully and completely documents any contractor's operating and legal compliance history, including litigation checks, including civil and criminal background, bankruptcy filings, licensing compliance, insurance and bonding compliance, and other relevant business details. From that investigation, a written report is provided highlighting all areas of concern so the client can make a fully informed, unemotional business decision before the sign and before performance problems and disputes arise. Go to accesslawnw.com to contact us or to get more information. That's accesslawnw.com.
Tired of the same old conversations at networking events that never lead to new clients? BNI is changing the way the world does business by connecting you to strategic relationships that can help you grow your business. BNI is the world's largest networking organization, helping hundreds of thousands of members around the world each year increase revenue through relationship marketing. For information about visiting a BNI chapter near you, go to the BNI Northwest website at bninw.com.
Alternative Talk 1150, the talk of the sound.